So, Road to Super Bowl, season number 2, episode number 3. We go with New England Patriots. For the first time in what seems like a lifetime, we will talk about Patriots without Bill Belichick. So it's kind of end of the era. First it started with Tom Brady leaving, and now it's with firing, mutually parting ways with Bill Belichick. So Patriots are right now number one favorites in terms of odds to have a number one pick next year's draft. So is it that bad for them? What's their roster look like? How did they do in the draft? And what should we expect from them this season? Let's find out. We start right now. So we start with the draft. And Patriots draft is something that I have really mixed feeling about. As you can see on these cards, we will take a look at who the guy is right now, in my opinion. So Drake May as a decent starter, what his position is, where he was drafted, how much was it overall, what's my ranking of him, how I feel like the channel used this pick, where he came to college, and what was his 40-yard dash. I'm sorry, Jalen Polk misses a number here. He was drafted 37. I'm not really sure what happened here. Sorry for that, guys. So we start with the good, and probably the only thing that I really like about this draft, and that's Drake May. I talk about it with the Commanders. I feel like Drake May is a better prospect towards winning a Super Bowl because of. I feel like his upside is bigger than Jaden Daniels. I don't feel like we've seen, let's say, enough of him in college. He's a younger prospect than Jaden Daniels, and I really feel like he can be the guy. Does he have the same potential as Caleb Williams? No, but could he still reach an upside as amazing to even an elite starter in this league? Yeah, I think so. But as of right now, I feel that Jaden Daniels is probably a better player or a guy more equipped to handle, let's say, not ideal situations than Drake May. That's why I hope, despite having him ranked really high, we won't see much of Drake May this season. Because Patriots offense is, well, not really something you hope to put young QB through. So, the rest of the draft, we go with Jalen Polk, and I'm not a huge fan of this draft pick. I feel like there were better options, or maybe not necessarily better in terms of Jalen Polk is not a bad player. Don't get me wrong on that one, but he's just not what this offense is missing, in my opinion. I feel like they need speed. They need someone with that burst of energy, and Jalen Polk is just not that guy. I would much more prefer Adonai Mitchell instead of him. I think he's gonna be successful. I think he is in the long-term plans for Patriots. There could be a really good chemistry with Drake May. But in terms of was it the best pick for the Patriots, my rank is C. I feel like they misdrafted him. But I hope for him to be successful. As you can see, 40-yard dash, 452, nothing really exceptional. Unfortunately, that kind of continues. Caleb Willis, he's an older guy. I don't feel like we necessarily have seen anything that would tell me, well, he can step up and play right now. So he's kind of still a prospect category, but not necessarily the one that you really trust that is going to develop. So again, we also covered this with the Commanders. It's the early third round. The offensive linemen were flying off the board, and Patriots kind of felt like, yeah, we got our guy a weapon, now we need to protect him. Let's go with what we feel is the best option. I don't feel like this was necessarily one. I would prefer Matt Gonzalez instead of Caden Wallace. Or if you really want to protect Drake May, maybe invest some resources and draft up for a guy like Fisher, who was there just like 10 or 15 spots ahead of Caden Wallace. So, with the exception of Drake May, not necessarily something I'm super excited about in the first 3 rounds. Then it continues with Layden Robinson, John Baker, and Marcel Diaz. I'm sorry. Like first of all, Marcel Diaz, I just don't get this pick. I think I don't believe that he would be drafted if Patriots did not pick him up. So you could get him as an undrafted free agent. I'm not necessarily saying like 180th pick is like super valuable, but I just don't see what you see in him. From this group, John Baker is actually one player that kind of excites me. Double dipping in terms of wide receivers. Again, not necessarily like giving you what you don't have, but at least you're trying to get your guy, his guy. And also I feel like he's a bit of a value for where he was drafted. I expected him to go a little bit sooner. Layden Robinson, nothing really to say. Another just take a dip into offensive line. One thing that I have to say, first 5 pick, all of them are going quarterback, weapons, and protect him. So at least for that, not necessarily for the players that you've picked, but for that range or for that purpose, for the road, I'm applauding the Patriots. In 7th round, there's actually 2 players that are kind of interesting. Both Jaheim Bell and Joe Milton are very physically gifted players. Joe Milton is or would be one of the most physically gifted QBs in the league if he ever started. The problem is he's exceptional athlete, but like he's not a quarterback. Like he can throw a cannon, but he just cannot play the position. I'm sorry, Joe. It's the reality of the position. You just cannot play it. You should convert to tight end and actually carve out really career in NFL, in my opinion. Jaheim Bell, another kind of interesting pick because he can kind of do it all in terms of offense. I wouldn't call him like Tyson Hill, like the gadget, the Swiss knife. But look out for Jaheim Bell. I would not be shocked if he had really interesting season either this or next year. Now let's move and talk about this offense as a whole, and we start with offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt, who replaces not Arthur Smith, I'm sorry, Bill O'Brien here. As you can see, he is my lowest ranked offensive mind in the league, or offensive coordinator in the league, and the reason for that is when I look at his career, I feel like the best success, or let's say the only really success story that he has, is really tied with Aaron Rodgers. Without him, I feel like it's been kind of a lot of meh. It's not like necessarily he is. So not necessarily like sending young mind. Not happy with the signing. I hope he proves me wrong because I wish Drake May to develop, but not really a huge fan. So let's have Alex Van Pelt for you. Here you can see what he has to work with. We have weaponry, which is like I'm combining quarterback, wide receiver, tight ends, running backs, overall dividing them to pass and running game, and then O-line also with pass blocking and run blocking and overall grade. So we start with QBs and let's go with Jacoby Brissett first, because I hope he is going to be this team starting QB for this season, because I cannot want him to suffer this offense as a whole, not to ruin Drake May. That should be your number 1 goal and your number 2 goal if you're Patriots. Just don't ruin Drake May. Like you've managed to win Mac Jones after his actually really good first year. Please don't do it with GMaty. And I feel like the rest of this offense is very well equipped to destroy young QB confidence. It's very similar roster to what Panthers had last year. Not much to talk about in terms of protection. Not really great weapons. That's what Patriots are, but we will get to that. So with Jacoby Brissett, I feel like you are getting 26th best QB in the league. He definitely can play. He showed it several times. He is your ideal bridge slash mentor slash backup type of guy that if he steps in, if he plays, you are not very worried that he is not going to give you some results, some quarterback play. But he is who he is. Like you don't expect him to like move from that 26th best QB in the league ranking. And probably he's going to drop down a few spots as the young players ascend. With GMaty, we covered this. Let's just give him 1 year to kind of figure it out in the NFL. The biggest thing that he needs to work on is his feet work. So again, not necessarily something you will fix behind bad O-line, because there it kind of forces you to be, let's say, more creative, trying to avoid pressure. That's nearly not the best friend to like get a proper feet movement. So that's your QB room. It's not the worst in the league for sure. Jacoby Brissett, I think, is is in that bottom tier, but kind of good grown up in the room. And with GMaty, I just hope he's just a backup for the season. Then let's talk about wide receivers after we go through this running back room. That's something quite positive for this team, probably the best part of their offense, and that's Ramondre Stevenson. I really like him. I feel like he is one of kind of a few running backs deserving a proper second contract, or not deserving. I would say several of them are deserving, but actually equipped to get one. He plays hard. He really is kind of heart and soul of this offense, in my opinion. You run the offense through him. He can catch. He can run. What is there to say? I think he kind of reached his upside. I don't necessarily see him evolve as an amazing starter or even an elite running back. But as your number one guy, you definitely will live with Ramondre as your number one guy. He's kind of the average number one running back for your team. Then with Antonio Gibson, he has kind of all the physical talent in the world, but it just doesn't click on the field. Is he bad? Not. Nice piece to have behind Ramondre. Is a guy that elevates any room? No, but as your number two, you definitely go with him. So quite nice room, probably the best you have in terms of offense. Although not really expecting to improve necessarily on these two guys. And then let's talk about those 5 receivers. And it's pretty much a hard conversation. I think your best guy is Demario Douglas, who had really nice rookie season. I think he already kind of surpassed anything you can ask for him in terms of draft prospect. And is, I would say, with Jalen Polk, hopefully with Javon Baker, like 2 founding pieces that you can count on going forward, develop the chemistry long term. With GMaty, I really like Demario Douglas. There is not like potential alpha in him, potential wide receiver number 1 elite guy that's not in him. I think like his ceiling is about an impactful starter. So if he's your number 2 and Jalen Polk emerges as the number 1, or you perhaps draft one next year, or you sign one in free agency, then this could be like 2 years from now, really nice wide receiver room. But as of right now, Demario Douglas as your best wide receiver is a problem. Kendrick Bourne perhaps could be like is right now slightly better player than Demario Douglas, but I do not expect that to hold through the season. Also, There were some injuries with Kendrick. Again, like you can say he's better right now, but the trajectory for Kendrick should hopefully be up there. And with Kendrick, it's pretty much here. So despite having having Kendrick in better tier, I really view them very close. But that's something that can happen with tiers, right? Like you might have a good starter and decent starter that are really far away from themselves. You know, one is like touching that impactful starter, and another one is really close to just be a good backup. Or you can have guys very very close, which is the case for Pop Douglas and Kendrick Bourne. Then what do you have next? Tyquan Thornton, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Javon Baker. Juju, I'm not sure if he was actually waived. Let me check on this one. Yeah, he was waived by Patriots like a week ago. Unfortunately, the injuries just got the best out of him. What was a promising career just now turns to injury-riddled player that tries to carve out a role for him, but it just doesn't seem like it's in his future, unfortunately. So with Juju, if he ever steps on the field again, you hope that the injuries will allow that to happen, but would you bet on it? Probably not. Tyquan Thornton, Javon Baker. I mean, it's ugly. Like as of right now, this is not what you should consider like adequate wide receiver room for an NFL team. Let's move towards tight ends. Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, two veteran options, two players that are not dissimilar in terms of what they can do. Hunter Henry is a better player from these two. Both of them can do some blocking, they can do some catching, but they won't elevate you. They are kind of who they are. You don't expect them to have any like huge upside going forward. They should not be a problem. That's like really good thing that you can say. Yeah, I mean, you can see or you can hear my cats agree and disagree sometimes with my takes. So let's move on towards the offensive line, and we start with tackles. So when I talk about Cornelius Lucas as league's worst starting left tackle, Chukwuma Okorafor is not far away from that ranking, unfortunately, for the Patriots, and also one of the reasons why I don't want Drake May to touch the field, at least until we prove that Chukwuma is adequate starter. He had some success in Pittsburgh, really like flirting with the starting job, being kind of back and forth. He's not a bad player, in my opinion, but I would definitely rather see him as my best backup option for tackles rather than my starting left tackle. With Mike Onwenu, definitely the best piece you have. Really, this O-line is actually quite similar to what Washington has. Like you have one piece that you are really excited about, and some that are kind of flirting. Should they be starting? Should they not? And Washington Commanders is slightly better because they have a guy like Tyler Biadasz that you kind of know he should be starting. Mike Onwenu, he got paid. They kept him. They absolutely needed to. He absolutely deserves that. Could he improve? You hope. I think there is an amazing starter in him, but not an elite one. But definitely a piece that you are absolutely not freaking worried. Anthony Murphy, he played last season, almost 500 snaps, and it was goddamn ugly. It was really, really ugly. Again, for you guys that are new to this series, this is his pass blocking grade, 27.7. 60 is average. So to have 27.7 on this many snaps, yeah, you don't want to stand behind this guy. No, it's not like he necessarily holds on in run blocking as well. He also delivered 7 penalties on 458 snaps, kind of something really similar to Chukwuma, 8 penalties, and he allowed 5 sacks. So that was really ugly season for Murphy. Kind of not to his fault. He should not have been a player that you have to say and like, yeah, let's start. But it happened, and you hope it's not going to continue that way. In terms of insight, I'm higher on David Andrews than perhaps a lot of other people I saw talking about him. Perhaps it's just I do appreciate veterans slightly more, despite that they have like injury concerns like David does. But when he played, I think he really still looked very good. Like perhaps not the top 5, top 7 center that he once could have been considered, but still a really productive offensive lineman. Definitely impactful starter, kind of flirting with just a good one at this point of his career, but a guy that you should not be worried if he plays. Next to him, you have Cole Strange, you have CDSO. It's not a strength. It should not be really big weakness for you. Like both of these guys can kind of hold their own when you are worried, and you can kind of see it on their grades is pass blocking. 46.3 for City, so he just could not pass block for his life. He plays with huge strength. He really tries in run blocking. Like that's his forte. But when you want to pass the ball, it's really hard. The same with David Andrews, and kind of not as much with Cole Strange. What should be said about Patriots and their offense last year? They were 31st. Sorry, English, not my first language. They were 31st in terms of points scored. Not necessarily only through bad performance of their offense as a whole, but their place kicking, especially Chad Ryland as a kicker, was absolutely dreadful. Like 64%, something like that. That's ugly. That's really ugly. So they actually got into some scoring positions, but they just could not convert because he could not hit between the big goalpost that you should be able to hit if you are an NFL kicker. So this offensive line, it's not outrageously bad. It's definitely skewed more towards run blocking than pass blocking, and you only have like one piece that you are kind of really happy about. I would say with both Dave Andrews and Cole Strange, despite them being ranked quite highly in my opinion, or by my grade, they are both really flirting with that downwards grade for them. So if we sit here week 2 and David Andrews is a good starter and Cole Strange is decent starter based on my grade, I would not be surprised at all. So that's the offense as a whole. Not enough playmaking, not enough speed. Kind of adequate in some areas, but not the offense I want to put GMaty behind, especially with this O-line really being more about pass blocking than run blocking. Yeah, the other way around, run blocking than pass blocking. So, what about the defense? Well, talking about defense, we have to start with Jared Mayo. He has really big shoes to fill in terms of succeeding Bill Belichick, not only as a head coach, but as a kind of this guru for the defense that, despite a lot of injuries last year, still played really hard, really well. They could have given up. They really could have given up. That was kind of clear from like week 10. There's going to be changes postseason. They are not going anywhere. Their offense is not good. Their kicker is even worse. And they have injuries. So they could have easily given up, like a lot of units would. But Bill said, no, we won't. And they still played their asses off. How much was it still a Bill? How much was it influence of Jared Mayo? I'm not sure like if he was like defensive coordinator last year or like what's the actual title was, but the consensus that I've kind of reached out from listening and watching, he had lot to say about that defense. So you kind of hope that this is going to be smooth, but can I rank him very highly when you just cannot go like without that shadow, without the huge shadow of Bale, not anything about his like bigness, only greatness over this defense. So I cannot separate that. So until he proves me otherwise, I have to rank him as a defensive mind kind of low, but not as a guy I don't believe, mostly as a guy that I just cannot separate him from Bill Belichick as of right now. What he has to work with is actually quite a lot of talent. So if there's a hope for Patriots, it's this defense and Drake May in the future. So let's take a look at who are we talking about. Again, you can see my ranking for defensive line overall, their pass rush, also linebackers included, their run defense, secondary, divided by safeties and cornerbacks. So we start on defensive line, and here we have to say goodbye to Matthew Judon. He has been traded to the Falcons for, let me check, was it? Yeah, it was a third round pick. So that's less than I would hope, but it's not like he has this long-term contract or that he is on the right side of in terms of his age development. But as a player, I think he is really, really, really good. Bit of underappreciated outside of Patriots and overappreciated within the Patriots. So as you mix it up, I think he's an impactful starter. That's in my opinion, the correct ranking for Matthew Judon. He did not play last year very much. He got injured like week 4, as you can see by his snap count. Here you can see his PFF grade, snap count, his pass rush grade, run defense grade, his amount of sacks and his amount of stops. So 4 sacks per 180 snaps is a really good number. He can do a lot of pass rushing. He provides a really nice run defense. So for Falcons, I think this is a really nice trade. For Patriots, it kind of signals, well, this is not our year. One move that I'm also like attributing to, if Jacoby Brissett really starts all of the games, this one move definitely goes into that direction, that's saying like, yeah, we kind of don't care if we win 2 games, 3 games or 4 games this year. It's not about that for Patriots right now. Without Matthew Judon, you are missing really good piece, probably your best edge guy. And what do you have left? Keon White and Joshua Uche are kind of complementary pieces. Keon White is more about the run defense. Joshua Uche is definitely like a pass rush specialist that comes back for 1 year, $3 million type of deal. He could have got more elsewhere. I feel like he wants to recreate his 2022 campaign when he was insane later in the season. Like he was on pace to like 19 sacks season if he played the same way he did in the second part of the season. But last year was kind of bad for him. He just kind of fell from the rotation, was not able to find his way on the field. We'll see where this lands him. He bets on himself. I like when a player does that, especially when they come back to the team that kind of gave them the opportunity and they know the system. So I believe they will use him well. And do I put it past him to have 10 sacks plus season? No. Keon White, complementary piece to this guy. Like with Matthew Judon, the things seemed to be in the right order. Without him, this really is getting a big hit. Also, these rankings were done pre-Matthew Judon trade. As of right now, without Matthew Judon, it kind of moves them really great down. So kind of C, I would say C for pass rush and C plus for run defense. It really is that high of impact of a player. Then we go to another edge pieces when you have DJ Wise and Anthony Jennings. again, like Patriots, they are kind of unique in terms of they will rotate the shit out of the players. They will try to put them in the right position to succeed for them, for the situation that is on the field. So 1st and 10, you are in. 2nd and 12, you are in. 2nd and 5, you are not in. This guy's in. That's what they try to do. It's also something that you can counter, I think, as an offense if you play quicker. Let's say no huddle offense, and you have Joshua Osha out there for that 3rd down. You convert on 3rd down, and you don't let Joshua Osha get out of the field, and you run towards him. That's where you can try to really stick it up to this approach. But overall, it's very effective and very fun to watch if you appreciate like defensive football. They really do it quite differently in the Patriots, and they were extremely successful with that, and we hope this will continue. Then we go inside. Oh, I'm missing a slide here. Wow, Christian Barmore. Where is Christian Barmore, guys? Yeah, I'm missing a slide with defensive tackles. Definitely a guy that you need to watch out there is Christian Barmore, the best player that they have in interior and overall in terms of their D-line as of right now, with Matthew Judon being out. I will tell you a bit about the group. Just give me a second. I'm really sorry for missing the slide. So Christian Barmore, definitely your best pass rusher right now, your best defensive lineman, and really a piece that you are super glad to have. He's an impactful starter. Next to him you have Devin Goodshow, that kind of is there for doing really the ugly job, stopping the run. Really, run defense is his specialty. You don't expect him to have any pass rush moves. Then, kind of guy that has a bit of this, bit of that in Armon Watts. So that's your defensive tackles. Without Matthew Judon, this is really not special room. You are missing the guy for the edge, because the guy that can do it all. Because with Ushe, you have a pass rush. With the two guys, you kind of have it both, but not with the same quality as you have with Matthew Judon. Now let's talk about the linebacker room. One of the better, deeper, and needs to be deeper room in terms of NFL rosters, because they really like to use 2 or even 3 tight ends, linebackers on the field. They have their type, like big guys that are essentially really an extension of D-line. So when I'm ranking D-lines plus linebackers like combined, I wouldn't say that it's the Patriots are most the team when they don't do that much of distinction between these 2 positions. Like, of course, there's a distinction, but a lot of their linebackers would pass as HPCs in terms of their body build. They are really, really big. How they are in terms of their actual performance on the field? Well, they are quite nice. You don't have, I would say, anyone special there, but you have guys that really help your run defense. You need them because they are usually playing just with 4 players in terms of their D-line. So they really need linebackers to step up, help with run defense, and that's what these guys can do very, very well. In terms of coverage, in terms of pass rush, they are below average, but not something you should necessarily be worried about. So really kind of nice linebacker room, definitely pushed towards helping with run defense rather than anything else, but a group that is very well utilized and you should not be worried about. Then we go to secondary, and that's where I would say right now, with Matthew Judon being out, you have the most hope for this Patriots team. We start with safeties, and man oh man, I just have to applaud Jabril Peppers. Like, this dude he was kind of an afterthought in some, like 2 years, 3 years ago. Like, was he good enough still? Like, is he an NFL starter? And he just said, well, yes, I am. And he just absolutely run with this position for Patriots. He's an impactful starter. He's not slowing down. Could you judge me if I rank him an amazing starter? I don't think you could. I feel like he was exceptional last year. Not like it was a bit of an outlier. I'm not gonna lie that he's been like he was last year his whole career. But still, he really is a player that you are super happy to have. Absolutely one of the leaders of this defense, plays hard, plays his ass off. You can say when you target him as a quarterback, you are. Yeah, I think my kids are trying to recreate like how he, like what's his impact on offensive players, because he really is going to like kick their ass in terms of defense. He really plays hard, and you just cannot really take the best out of him even in terms of coverage. Like 52.6 when targeted, that's exceptional. 54 tackles. This is coverage grade. His run defense grade. Kyle Dagger, I would say 95% of Jabril Peppers you have in Kyle Dagger. Really good player. They are more similar than perhaps you would want in like the best case scenario, but I don't think it's a problem at all. They can play together. They showed it last year, and it's really nice safety duo. One of the betters in the league. And then you go to the cornerback room, and again, a couple of guys I really like. The guys that are kind of being pushed down in terms of pecking order because we are ranking them at their floor, but still really good group. So Jonathan Jones and Christian Gonzalez should be your starting outside corners. They are both flirting with impactful starter. With Jonathan Jones, like it's an ongoing trend with him. Like I want to put him to that category, but I just want to see a bit more. And with Christian Gonzalez, like I've seen a lot, but not a lot. Like he only played 200 snaps before he got injured, but I feel like even from those snaps, they struck a gold with him in last year's draft. And if the injuries that should not be a concern for Christian Gonzalez, it's not like he was like super injury prone prospect. This duo can really quickly ascend as one of the better outside corners in the league. With Marcus Jones, again, he was injured last year, so in terms of where I rank them, it has some merit that we just didn't see those two guys last year, but do expect movement in terms of upwards trajectories for their grades really early in the season. And if we finish as Christian Gonzalez as an amazing starter, Jonathan Jones as an impactful starter, and Marcus Jones as a good starter, I will be surprised really zero. Like I would not be surprised at all. I think it's within the realm of possibility that this trio is going to be one of the best trios in the league in terms of cornerback quality. Also, you have some quite nice depth piece with Marco Wilson, with Sean Wade. They stepped up last year. They needed to play, and they played very well for what they are. Like they should be your fourth and fifth best piece. They were. They are. They needed to step up last year, and they did. So kudos to them. Kudos to the defensive coaching for last season. One of the deeper cornerback room. One that has really a lot of talent, and definitely group that excites me the most when we talk about Patriots, because this could be legit strength of this team. I do project them to have this like Chicago Bears secondary from last year in terms of cornerbacks, like that reaching that upside very, very quickly. I feel like they are really similar in terms of we put young players into right positions to succeed. We have like perhaps not a veteran, but a guy that's played like at least a couple of seasons, Jalen Johnson, Jonathan Jones, and then young ascending talents like Christian Gonzalez, like Tyreek Stevenson, really similar. Also, some nice depth, Terrell Smith, Marco Wilson, Sean Wade. Really, really good secondaries that you should be excited about. So that's your Patriots roster breakdown. Where are they right now? What's their floor? What's their ceiling? As much as I like this defense, as much as I believe Jared Mayer is the right hire, and I expect him to finish with a much better grade for me, towards the end of the season, the same I do expect for the secondary. Without Matthew Judon, you are definitely missing really quality piece, and even with him, the upside was like top 10, top 8 defense without Bill Belichick, with Jared Mayer. Like, that was the upside. But for the offense, I just cannot see and say that the upside is anything more than like 25th best offense. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on where you go with this narrative, this is an offensive-minded league. Like, when you switch it up with like a team like Arizona, which by the way is going to be number 4, I would say they are similar in terms of like their upside is like top 8, top 10, and their downside, or like for one part is top 8, top 10, and upside for the other part is like top 25, but it's switched up. They have it for the offense, while here is it for the defense. And the difference that it makes in actual games that you can win is like 3 to 4 games. Offense matters more in today's NFL than defense. It's just what it is. You know, you can like it, you can hate it, it's just the reality. So I would say the floor for the Patriots is actually 2 wins. I really can see them struggle heavily, being like good defense and just offense that cannot push the ball. Also, the division is hard as, I don't want to be nasty, but hard as F. I can definitely see them going 0-6 in terms of their own division. So if everything kind of goes bad to 2-15, I would not be surprised. I really would not. Especially when like the Matthew Judon trade kind of signals they understand this is not their year, with a division where Jets are really pushing. Miami has like last year of cheap Tua, and Buffalo, despite being in kind of rebirth, they have Josh Allen. So like it's hard to be bad when you have Josh Allen. They can go 0-6 in their own division, win 2 games because they have definitely like bad schedule, like easy schedule. But I would not be shocked. So the fact that they are favorites to have a top pick, I think is absolutely justified. What's their ceiling though? That's an interesting conversation. I would say 7 wins, and that would really see them not trade players in trade deadline. They would need them to be better offensively, that I kind of give them credit for. Really like Jalen Polk, emerge, Demario Douglas continues this trajectory, the O-line being serviceable, guys don't suffer from injuries. You know, Sidiso and Chukwuma kind of proving that, like flipping the better part of the coin in terms of wildcards for that O-line. And defense being stud, as I expect that they could be, especially on the backside of this with the secondary. So 7 wins, I think, is possible. It's gonna be hard for them to go anything better than 2-4 within the division, because that's a really hard division. But there are definitely 5 winnable games in terms of the rest of their schedule. They also have a favorable schedule in terms of they usually will have a couple of rest days more than their opponent. They really struck luck in terms of that. Though, is it luck when you get it in the season when you are not really pushing for playoffs? Not really. So, if anything, that kind of lowers their chances to have the best draft choice possible next year. What should they focus this season? What the goal is? So, first of all, don't ruin Drake May. Second of all, please don't ruin Drake May. Okay, so we have this out of. You need to determine whether Alex Van Pelt is really the guy. Like I don't think that you need more than 1 year to assess if he's an offensive coordinator that you want to move forward with. I know he doesn't have too much time to work with, but with Jacoby Brissett, if he's about to start, you have decent enough QB to make something work. If that offense look really poor, I would say if it looks as bad as it was last season, where you had like the 50th best QB in the league, that's where Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi played as. If it looks as bad with Jacoby Brissett, you need to move on from Alex Van Pelt. In terms of Jared Mayo, like I hope there is no scenario from which you move from Jared Mayo, unless there's like some off-field stuff, because you gave him one of the worst rosters in the league. He needs to do just two things. Really make this defense play hard, because the fact that Matthew Judon kind of requested a trade, was really pushing that, is not the best first step in terms of, these guys really trust Jared Mayo, or maybe they are not afraid as they were from like Bill Belichick, where I'm not sure if Matthew Judon would do the same. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is just try to step out of the Bill's shadow. Not in terms of like he needs to be better than Bill, like good luck with that, but it needs to be certain that there is some Jared Mayo within this defense. Like you might continue to play the same scheme, the same system that was there previously, but bring something that this is Jared Mayo, this is no longer the Bill Belichick for this defense. That's two things that, in my eyes, he needs to do, he should be equipped to do. And that's about it for Patriots. Like, prepare yourself for not a great season, but you should be able to see some really exciting young players emerge. And I feel like you are actually quite well equipped towards the future goals if you do things the right way. And you don't ruin Drake May. Please don't ruin him. Okay, so that's it for Patriots. Thank you guys for watching and listening. For those who are mostly listening, I'm sorry for the noises from the cats. It's just they are little beasts and they like to play and make noises. So sorry for that. I hope it's not that much disturbing. Bye. See you next time with the Arizona Cardinals.